future I could see if I just close my eyes. Have the foresight to believe. Time don't move backwards, it speeds.
Because it was right before the holidays that I left. So really, we haven't been back on the live where I can say, how was your holidays? How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's? Are y'all making it? Patty said, I'm hanging in there. Okay. Still breathing. Taking it one day at a time. Okay, Fifi, I see I'm going to have a follow-up call with you, young lady. Don't have me travel. Well, I can't right now, but don't have me travel because you were not in class, and that's not like you. So we don't want to suffer in silence. We don't. If there is things that is going on, you are not alone. You're not. I say this to you all the time. You don't have to suffer in silence. And I get it. I get it. I get it. Trust me, I do. Because I did it for many years. I often use this as a part of my story. My mother passed away never knowing what I was going through. And my father only found out by accident. Because I was talking to somebody, he was in earshot, and I was like, "Ooh." So, and that was right before he passed away a couple of years ago. And so I get why we don't feel safe to come out and say certain things. But in our healthy boundaries class, and Pat, you were there, Fiona, you were there in our health. Hello there. I know it's been a while. I know. That's why I came on here. I was just explaining. Here, let me send you a message. It's me sending you a message. Um, I was just explaining it's been a while because when I dealt with the tragedy and the sudden loss of my sister, it really took me out. It did. Because I was not to sit there and watch your loved one take their last breath, feeling like, and I'll share with you how I felt as clergy and as a spiritual person who believes in the power of God to do miracles. I had a problem with removing the life support. And I'm just gonna be honest. I'm gonna give you all. You're in grief therapy. Wow. Don't make me cry. We're gonna have to talk. But do you see? I had a problem with removing her off of life support. Can you imagine why I had a problem with that? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I felt like just compounded. Yeah, we're going to talk, Miss Patty. Thank you so much. I appreciate your condolences and kindness. But I felt like I did it. I really had to work through these things, y'all. Now, they told me that she was a vegetable, right? They told me that she was a vegetable. They told me that based upon the amount of damage that was done to her brain, that she would always need life support. Hey, Mo. I didn't see you, Mo. And I was like, no, but God can do all things, right? I, I never stopped saying that. So I had a problem when I was away with it. I really did. And I'm just being transparent. Good evening there, Mo. I had a real big problem with that. I felt like I was pressured into the doctors kept on like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Did you make a decision yet? That bothered me. It really did. And then and Patty, I think you understand this, if you all have been around somebody where you have removed the life support, and what I learned is that when the one part of your brain that deals with your reflexes is that the brain stem. I think it's the brain stem. That's right. I didn't. When the brain stem is still functioning, there are reflexes, right? I'm just sharing with y'all what I went through. Like, and so when I would see her eye open, like, or her eyes open, I'm saying she's in there. She's there. And they said, no, it's a reflex. I'm like, mm-mm. And then I would see her foot move, her leg would move. They said it's a reflex. And I'm like, no, I can see her. Listen, your girl went through it. And so I was looking and researching all kinds of stuff while I would go away in the break room and just it was just bad because it was 2 weeks of this. And and I just felt like, okay, what is the choice? We could leave her on life support, put her in a long-term facility where she would be hooked up to everything. Like she would need constant care, constant around the clock care. I don't live in New Jersey. When we removed it, the first they told me it would be like 3 or 4 days, right, before she would expire or transition. And then as the days went on, thank you so much for that. Hey, Joy. As the days went by, thank you so much, Joy. As the days went by, I noticed that she seemed to be declining, like she wasn't opening her eyes as much. She wasn't opening her eyes as much. And I'm like, something's going on. Why can't you do something about this? And yeah. And so when we decided to get some tissue. One second. So when we decided to remove the life support, it went from her, 4 days. So that's what I'm thinking in my mind. Okay, got 4 days left, and you counting and stuff like that. It was 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. And this is where I had a problem because I heard the, the sounds of someone trying to breathe, right? You're listening to this for 25 minutes, and then it gets slower and slower. And I said to myself, did you just take her life? That's what I said to myself. Did you take the last bit of life out of your sister? Because I heard her. I heard that. I listened to that for 25 minutes as I read the scriptures because I opened up the Bible and I just started reading. And you see why I felt like I did it? And why it took me so long to come back here? Because to be a content creator and someone that is very familiar, like I'm here with you all the time, to do that takes a lot of strength and energy. And I didn't have that for about 2 months. Exactly. Patty, listen, we're going to have to talk because, yeah, yeah. And that just took me, it like took all of the oxygen, all of the air out of me. Like there were days where I would just sleep. And then I knew that it was the holidays. And so I didn't want to upset anybody else's holiday, right? Because it was right before Christmas. And so then we pushed the service back until January, the first week in January, so people could at least enjoy their Christmas and their New Year's. And so that delayed the process because I actually did my sister's eulogy. I preached her eulogy because I felt like, one, she's my, I don't know if I would have done that for anybody else other than family, right? I don't know, because it was me trying to honor her name, remember her in a way that we could celebrate. But when I tell you that was the hardest thing you did 5 years ago, don't make me cry. And you heard it, right? Did you feel like I felt? Did you feel like you did it? Because I felt like I. Death is simply putting out a candle, because we typically put the candle out in the morning, right? Because morning has come. And that's a comfort that we all should have. That every time I go to a funeral, I remember those words and my sadness seems to disappear. Don't weep for Gil. God has put her candle out because the morning has come. It's a beautiful, bright morning where all the trials and tribulations of this life for Gil have faded away. No, they kept on saying, "Did you make a decision? Did you make a decision?" It was like, are you supposed to come to the family and say that every other day? Like, if I would have made a decision, the what ifs. Yeah. And that's where I'm at now. And that's why it took me so long to come back on here. I had to get myself together, y'all. And I'll be honest, I had to get myself together. You felt the pressure from them too. See? And that's the same thing that Pat's saying. That they pressure you into making that decision. And I don't think that should happen. I don't think they should be allowed to morally come to a family and keep saying, "Hey, did you make a decision?" Because it was nothing positive. Like, even though the situation is not positive, but they didn't give me any hope, right? And so when you are a faithful, spiritual person who believes in hope sometimes is all you have, and then there's none coming, like, that really messes with you as a pastor, as somebody who serves in ministry and gives other people hope, at least try to get none. That really messed with me. And then to hear that sound, Seashell, you heard, to hear that, it really, I said, yeah, I did it. But they assured me that that was just a reflex. They assured me that that was just a reflex. And I don't know if that's true. If there's a doctor on here, or if there's a nurse that can confirm that for me. They assured me that the noise that the breathing sounds that I heard was just because her brain stem was still functioning. That she wasn't doing that because she was doing it. It was an automatic thing. Yeah. Because when I first got there, her eyes were open. And so I asked them to see the testing and the brain and all that kind of stuff and show me what all was there. And I said, but her, and I'm looking at her like I can look in my sister's eyes. And I was like, I felt like she was in there. And after the days would go by, she wasn't opening her eyes anymore. And I said, I figured out, let me tell you what I feel like. This is what I feel like they did. Because so you have the brain stem that's still functioning, which handles all of your reflexes, right? And then you have the other part of the brain that's not. A hospital can declare you legally, you know what, if both are gone. If there's no function in the brainstem and there's no function in the other part of the brain, they can pronounce you as legally gone and take you off life support. And I told them that. I said, this is what you're doing. Because as each day went by, they did nothing to protect the brainstem from failing. So that's why I feel like they allowed it to go without giving her anything. Now you can, and they could. I looked up all this stuff while I was there. They could have given her something, right? Because what if we wanted to put her in a long-term facility? She should have had something. So as each day went by, her eyes didn't open anymore. She stopped having the movement that she had. And then there was nothing.
Yeah, what the way we would do it if we were to, just make her comfort care is we would make sure she has medication on board, such as morphine, to keep her comfortable. Uh, we would remove her from the life support
So
machine.
that's what took me out, y'all. And just be honest, that's what really kind of set me down for a minute because I had to get myself together. Because I've never seen anything like that. I've never experienced anything like that. I was with my father when he passed away. Um, but when he passed away, it wasn't, he had cancer, right? He had cancer. And so he was on so much to keep him comfortable. Like he kind of just transitioned. We were at home, we had hospice, you know, he lived in Detroit. We had hospice, and it was kind of like a gradual transition where there was no struggling, like no signs of trying to breathe. And it was none of that, right? But this time, mm-mm, it is. It is. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry for yours as well. I am, and I appreciate you sharing that with me because there's a couple of you on here that said you have gone through this before and you kind of understand. And it's good to be able to talk to somebody that understands, right? Like I asked you, did you felt like you did it? Right? That's a question that probably nobody else will be able to to kind of relate to or resonate with if they haven't been there. And so now you're telling me, right? Yeah, I felt that too, that I did it. And so I don't feel like I'm going crazy, right? Because this is what I say to myself. Okay, you know God, you are a believer. Get yourself together, Sabrina. So you see how this all it was messing with me. Get yourself together. You know full well you didn't do that because God has the final say. So this was my wrestle. This was my wrestle, y'all. And I wrestled and I wrestled for almost 2 months, which is why you all didn't see me on here. I was still trying to figure out what to do, how to move forward. That's why we got now the podcast, um, Walk by Faith, the podcast. And so, see when God says all things work together for the good, right? And we think about that, but God is saying that all things work together for the good. And even though it seems very difficult to believe that as we are going through the loss and separation through death, as it's when it's so hard to come to grips with that, you say, okay, God, your will must be done. Get over there to the YouTube channel, y'all, and make sure you subscribe because the podcast is over there. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify for podcasters. It's on iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. If you want to be on the podcast, you want to share your story, you are in a safe space. You all know that. That there is work that we have to still yet do for the kingdom, even though we're going through our own troubles, right? Even though we still have things going on in our own personal lives, we still have work yet to do for the kingdom. And that is an expectation that God requires of us to still do kingdom work.
I'm good, actually, more than good, kinda great, even on the bad days, I thank God.